Catherine West to move the motion.
Thank you very much, Ms Cummins, and it's always a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. That this House has considered the matter of supporting UK high streets and small businesses, and it's fantastic to see so many members here, and many members will be pleased that there's not too much of an introductory debate so that we can squeeze everybody's constituencies in. Last weekend we celebrated the 10th anniversary of Small Business Saturday, and I know many of the colleagues here today will have spent the day visiting small businesses. And in my own constituency of Hornsey and Wood Green, we have Muswell Hill, Crouch End, Middleton Road, Stroud Green, and a number of other wonderful high streets, bustling with activity. However, traders do tell me that times are tough. Changing technology, changes in consumer behaviour, soaring energy costs and business rates are just some of the issues facing retailers. And as part of my planning for the debate, the excellent House of Commons Chamber engagement team asked high street customers and small business owners about their town centres, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the 344 contributors whose voices I hope to amplify today. Because high streets aren't just a place to shop for things we need. They're at the heart of our communities, and small businesses within them are the lifeblood. Provide space for people to socialise, work, share ideas, catch up with old friends and make new ones. And the pandemic taught us many painful lessons about what we value, one of which is undoubtedly how bereft our communities become when our town centres are no longer available to us. And during the... Of course.
Allow me to intervene. The sudden closure of the Menai Bridge by the Welsh Labour government has decimated high streets on Porth Eithwy and Beaumaris and businesses in surrounding areas on Arnis Môn during one of their most lucrative retailing seasons. Does my honourable friend agree with me that the Welsh Labour government should have invested in the bridge so this catastrophe did not happen? And does she agree with me that the Welsh Labour government needs to do much more than offer just free parking to help employers protect these vital, vital jobs in the high street at this vital time?
Catherine West.
Thank you, Ms Cummings. And I believe that the free parking that is on offer by the Welsh Government is not necessarily replicated in England. So I think there's swings and roundabouts with different regions, and I'm sure the Minister will know every detail about where free parking is available and where it's not. But it sounds as though the free parking may well be an element which my constituents will now ask me for, because parking is quite a contentious issue in my local authority area. But going back to the essay question of the high streets, we know that with 2.8 million people employed in retail across the UK, in London, high streets are home to 41% of all businesses in the city. Small businesses employ 16 million people in the UK and account for 2/3 of UK private sector employment, and yet so many high streets are on their knees after 12 years of staggeringly low growth, and independent and small businesses have been hit very hard. The BBC reported this week that there were 9,300 fewer retail outlets in March 2022 than March 2020. A recent London Business 1000 survey showed that 3/4 of London businesses are feeling less confident about the UK economy over the next 12 months. And that's why today's debate is so important, and we need to act now if we want to secure the future of our town centres and the 5.6 million small businesses across the country which are vital to our economy. Developments in digital technology and the growth in online retail have completely transformed how people shop. Between 2006 and 2019, as we're all aware, online retail increased from around 7 to 19%, whilst physical shops lost 13% of their market. The pandemic rapidly accelerated the trend, and sadly many high streets have never recovered. In the week to the 2nd of July 2022, overall, retail footfall in the UK was 19% lower than the equivalent week in 2019. And we saw how agile and innovative the retail sector can be when many shops moved online. However, it's not been enough to keep stores open, and businesses are begging for more support. In 2014, the Centre for Retail Research predicted that within 5 years, the growth in online retailing and changing consumer demand will result in 1 in 5 UK stores closing. Sadly, their predictions were correct. Yet nearly a decade after they were made, the government have failed to undertake any meaningful action to keep our high streets alive. Depressing beyond belief, the life and vibrancy have completely disappeared, was how one respondent, Trevor, described his local high street. Shops are not the only businesses to be leaving the high street. Post office, such as the branch inside WH Smith's on Wood Green High Road, and bank branches have also been closing at an alarming rate over the past decade. We must consider the damaging effect these other services on the high road have on small businesses and the welfare of our senior citizens. At least 50 bank branches have closed each month in the UK since 2015, and I look forward to what the Minister has to say about this, because when he was on the backbenches, he used to mention it quite a lot, so I'm hoping he's going to have some solutions now that he's in the powerful position he finds himself in. Colleagues will also be aware that this week HSBC announced another raft of closures. 8 million adults struggle to cope in a cashless society, 1.9 million of whom rely on cash for nearly every transaction they make. Small businesses dependent on local bank branches to deposit cash safely will be forced to go cashless if more branches close, isolating those who only use cash even further. Banks are disproportionately closing in lower income areas, taking their ATMs with them, shutting off free access to cash and quality financial services to those who need it most. And I was very pleased to see that in today's Prime Minister's questions, the member for Mitcham and Morden made a very eloquent intervention on the question of the closure of and lack of access to cash, and asked the Prime Minister what he would do. And I do hope that the Minister will address that burning question in his summing up. Shop closures are also costing jobs. 1,001 shops closed between January and July this year, resulting in more than 13,000 job losses. These will be part of the 43% increase in insolvencies just in the last 12 months as well. Retail employees are now facing huge instability at a time when so many people are struggling to pay their bills and put food on the table. As the Union of Shop Distributive and Allied Workers, USDOR, has pointed out, retail is one of the few sectors that offers employees the flexibility to balance their work alongside caring commitments. Yet many small businesses are reporting that they cannot afford to pay their staff at a wage which reflects the increasing cost of living. This is true for one small hair care business in my constituency, Afro Senchix, which reported to me that whilst they would like to pay their staff more, this would mean increasing the cost of their products at a time when customers are tightening their belts. Many small business owners told me they struggle to pay themselves, but if they put their prices up, they go out of business. Another matter of acute concern for small businesses is the effect of soaring energy costs. The government claims to have recognised this, but failed to offer a sustainable solution long-term to provide businesses the assurance they need. For food-producing businesses which use a high amount of energy, skyrocketing energy bills are extremely worrying. The chair of the Crouch End Traders Group and owner of a bakery in my constituency told me that increases in product prices are a likely outcome of soaring energy bills. At a time when customers are tightening their purse strings, he believes this is the perfect storm to threaten many of these traders. The owner of the oldest family-run artisan bakery in Manchester replied to the House of Commons survey to say their biggest fear was the totally unsustainable increase in energy costs, and I hope the Minister will address that particular issue when he speaks. Where's the sustainable support for businesses terrified about their energy bills, and where's the support for businesses to become more energy efficient to reduce bills and help the planet? One trader told me offering grants for solar panels would help a lot of businesses. A lot of us want to be greener but can't afford the initial capital outlay. Labor would keep energy bills down by establishing a publicly owned generator, GB Energy, to guarantee energy security and a stable supply of affordable power. We'd make Britain a clean energy superpower by 2030 and make sky-high energy bills under the Conservatives a thing of the past, which would be a very exciting role for small business to play because so many small businesses want to be part of the future solution. The most pressing issue threatening the disaster of our high street shops, one mentioned by every trader I spoke to, is the major burden of business rates. And I'm sure that the Shadow Minister will outlay Labor's position, which I think is quite an exciting offer on business rates, which evens up the disproportionate impact of small businesses by those huge online retailers. Labor is committed to rectifying the imbalance. Of course.
I've only heard so far that they'll scrap business rates. I haven't heard what they'll put in its place. to raise the £22.5 billion a year that we raise in England?
Well, I thank the Minister for his unusual intervention on the initial speaker, and I am very confident that Labour's plan to even up the balance between your basic high street store and the huge digital giants will indeed bring us the solution which so many of us are desperate to see. Labor is committed to rectifying that imbalance, and I know that the Minister is concerned to help business, yet many respondents to the House of Commons survey reported that the planned revaluation of business rates from next April will actually do the opposite. Labor's putting forward a plan to introduce the root and branch replacement of the business rate system, and I hope he can be equally ambitious. Helping small businesses struggling now, Labor would like to increase the looking at the value again of properties and trying to assess what impact the burdens that they have on them and what we can do about that. As the Stroud Green Traders Group in my constituency pointed out, in London it's rare to have a high street property eligible for business rates relief at the threshold. So we're looking forward to an assessment, a reassessment of that threshold, knowing that if it were, say, £25,000 rather than £12,000, that would help very small businesses in London which pay such a high level, and in other cities which pay such a high level of income on their rateable value. There is scope to reinvigorate our town centres, and I welcome the work of local authorities, including my own Haringey Council, the leadership of Councillor Ahmet and Business Cabinet Leader Councillor Jogi. I'd like to take a moment also to pay tribute to Diane Southam, who's our departing Head of Economic Development, and to Ian Cruz, the Town Centre Manager, and indeed the BID. We're lucky to have a Business Improvement District, which I'm sure many others here in the House will know about, which combines the cleaner, greener, safer theme and makes the high street much more appealing and attractive to shop in. Finally, I'd like to urge the government to look at creative ways to help our town centres by introducing community arts and cultural events to attract people to the area. Last week I had the pleasure of meeting the founder of The Record Shop, a community interest company based in Wood Green Mall. Run by a youngster, Mary set up The Record Shop to help young people in Haringey and surrounding boroughs to gain the skills and experience for open mic nights, events and markets. Her vision for The Record Shop shows us there is room for a renewed relationship with our high streets, and I do hope that the Minister will consider this proposal positively. The warning from small business could not be more stark in conclusion, Ms Cummins. The failure to act now to reduce the onerous costs which they face will result in thousands more closures and job losses, even between now and next April. Supporting high street businesses must be an integral and immediate part to any government strategy to promote economic growth, as it is in London, where the Local Government Association recognises the importance of thriving high streets in its economic framework for growth. Labor has an urgent recovery plan underpinned by a hardcore industrial strategy for retail, ready to go, and I urge the government, once he's heard from the Shadow Minister and her pearls of wisdom, that he undertake an immediate action to work collaboratively to improve our local high streets. Thank you very much, Madam.
Members will see that this debate is